If you sell, supply, move, or manufacture illegal narcotics, your profession does not matter. If you choose to push these deadly substances into the public, we will track you down, we will take you into custody, and you will answer for every violation you committed. 400 pounds of fentanyl, enough to erase entire cities, were found not in a cartel hideout, but inside the private mansion of a Florida gubernatorial candidate. Stored beside it were tactical firearms, encrypted trafficking ledgers, and shipment records connected to multiple overdose clusters across the state. This was not outside influence creeping in. This was corruption grown from the inside, funded, protected, and politically insulated for 15 years. Do not move. What comes next is darker than anyone has ever admitted. And if you believe Florida deserves the full truth, hit like on this video. 4:57 a.m. Inside a politician's luxury home in Tampa Bay, FBI and DHS teams moved down the halls like a silent, coordinated surge. A motion light flickered, and then the steel front door tore open under the strike of a breaching ram. In that moment, the carefully polished public image of an upright candidate collapsed with the shattered frame. In a side room, agents froze at the sight. On reinforced metal racks sat 400 pounds of fentanyl, 160 pounds of methamphetamine, and rows of vacuum-sealed cash. $9.8 million prepared for immediate transport. Along the adjacent wall were 54 weapons, modified AR-15 platforms, short-barreled rifles, compact submachine guns, the kind carried by cartel enforcers, not American politicians. But the most damning discovery was waiting on the kitchen counter. Whitford's unlocked phone glowed with active encrypted conversations with the Juarez cartel, outlining shipment routes, bribes, and political protection stretching back 15 years. The raid ended in minutes. The fallout it triggered was just beginning. 400 pounds of fentanyl inside a candidate's home. If that shocks you as much as it shocked federal agents, type yes in the comments so I know you are still with me. For years, Marcus Dillon Whitford built the perfect public persona, a smooth-spoken Democratic businessman turned rising political figure. He appeared on nightly news programs attacking Republican border policies, calling their enforcement efforts inhumane. But behind that camera-ready persona stood a machine fueled by cartel money. His entire business empire was a fabrication. 27 shell consulting firms, 3 fake real estate trusts, and 11 charities that existed only on paper. Financial trails showed the pattern clearly. Tiny deposits in the early 2000s, eventually growing into 6-figure transfers routed through Panama, Belize, and the Cayman Islands. After his arrest, Whitford admitted he had been shielding a criminal network of escaped Venezuelan convicts who carried out 1,900 drug shipments and hundreds of weapons transactions. Whitford was not pressured. He was the cartel's political armor, a Florida candidate with a cartel past. Imagine someone running for governor while secretly protecting cartel operations for 15 years. If you want more investigations exposing political corruption, tap like and subscribe so you never miss the next chapter. Files recovered from Whitford's laptop led investigators to a location few believed could exist on American soil. Deep inside the Everglades, 18 miles west of Interstate 75, surveillance drones identified a facility hidden beneath layers of swamp fog and mangrove shadows. What first looked like a cluster of simple sheds revealed itself, under infrared, as a fully engineered cartel stronghold. The perimeter resembled a wartime installation. Steel-reinforced walls wrapped in razor wire, 4 elevated guard towers manned around the clock, and 5 unmarked armored vehicles circling the compound in continuous patrol. Marine-grade radar systems scanned more than 120 miles out, detecting approaching movement long before anyone could get close. But the interior was even more disturbing. Intelligence confirmed 60 armed mercenaries, equipped with thermal optics and encrypted radios, guarding 2 industrial-scale processing floors where traffickers forced 42 hostages to produce fentanyl, and the victims forced to work inside the compound came from 9 different nations, a patchwork of vanished identities and stolen futures. Among them were 6 American citizens who had disappeared months earlier. their cases chalked up to missing person reports with no leads. Until now. A cartel installation operating like a military base, deep inside the continental United States, hidden in plain sight beneath swamp fog and silence. If that sounds impossible, comment unacceptable, to push this story higher in the algorithm so more people understand how deep this went. Within hours of confirming the existence of the Everglades stronghold, the federal government reacted with a speed that revealed how serious and how embarrassing this discovery truly was. A sealed emergency meeting convened in Washington, behind doors that even most agency directors never access. Senior leadership from the Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Drug Enforcement Administration, Immigration and Customs Enforcement, and a military liaison from United States Special Operations Command were brought in, some flown directly from field assignments. The mission was blunt and unforgiving. Eliminate the Juarez cartel's command center, rescue all 42 hostages before they were moved or murdered, and gather enough evidence to unravel every political and financial thread connected to the operation. There would be no second attempt. At 3:18 a.m., under a moonless sky where even the stars seemed erased by humidity, the operation began. 2 Black Hawk helicopters skimmed just above the wetland canopy, their rotors tuned to a low signature setting to reduce acoustic detection. Down in the marsh, tactical units from the FBI Hostage Rescue Team, DHS Special Response, DEA Foreign Operations Group, and ICE tactical elements advanced through knee-deep black water, using night vision systems to cut through the dense reeds and drifting mist. Mosquito swarms clung to their gear. Every footstep sent ripples through the swamp. The initial objective was simple: blind the fortress. A specialized electronic warfare unit, one normally reserved for counterterrorism missions overseas, activated a high-power signal disruptor designed to overload communications, radar sweeps, encrypted radios, and drone relays. In less than 1 second, the compound's surveillance network collapsed into static. Inside the guard towers, cartel sentries slapped their radios in confusion, unaware that federal operators were already kneeling beneath the outer fence line. At 3:29 a.m., the breach command came through. Explosive charges planted along the north and east walls detonated simultaneously, throwing steel and concrete forward in a single, thunderous shockwave. The barriers, engineered to withstand sustained rifle fire, folded like bent scaffolding under the synchronized blasts. Armed teams surged in, taking aggressive positions as an eruption of gunfire tore across the compound. Tracer rounds slashed through the night sky in red ribbons, ricocheting off metal siding and slicing into the swamp mud. The cartel's mercenaries responded with brutal intensity. One armored truck charged toward the entry point, its mounted heavy weapons spraying an arc of fire across the lane and gouging splinters from the wooden boardwalk. Before it could gain momentum, an ATF operator shouldered an anti-armor launcher and delivered a direct hit into the engine block. The explosion sent a column of fire upward and dropped the vehicle in its tracks. Inside the complex, close-quarters fighting erupted instantly. Federal teams cleared hallways, stairwells, and narrow processing corridors where mercenaries attempted to regroup. The echo of suppressed rifles, shouted commands, cracking debris, and the metallic clink of casings on concrete blended into a single chaotic rhythm. Despite the resistance, the agents advanced methodically, driving the defenders back toward the production rooms where hostages were believed to be held. By 3:41 a.m., the momentum shifted. One processing floor fell, then the second. The last group of armed contractors attempted a desperate stand near the southwest loading exit, but were overwhelmed within minutes. As the final bursts of gunfire faded, rescue teams fanned out across the compound. They found the hostages huddled in shipping rooms, storage alcoves, and chemical prep areas, exhausted, dehydrated, and shaking from fear. Some broke down when they saw federal uniforms. Others, too weak to speak, could only lift their hands as medics carried them to extraction points. Then came the sweep. Hidden behind false walls, buried under pallets, and locked inside reinforced crates, agents discovered evidence so staggering it required 2 teams just to catalog it. 420 kilograms of fentanyl, 690 kilograms of methamphetamine, over 1.2 tons of heroin, $58 million in bundled cash and gold bars, 117 weapons, rifles, machine pistols, tactical carbines. Many traced directly to cross-border trafficking routes Whitford himself had helped shield. In just 23 minutes, a fortress that had functioned like a sovereign miniature state collapsed. But the real shockwave came afterward, because the fall of the Everglades compound did not end the threat. It detonated it. Within minutes of securing the perimeter, federal analysts were already ripping into the seized electronics with the precision born from years of counterterrorism work. Encrypted tablets with cracked screens, burner phones still warm from recent calls, satellite routers rigged to external antennas, weatherproof laptops splattered with swamp mud, and USB drives cleverly hidden inside hollowed-out door frames, and even inside the handles of workshop tools. Everything was dumped onto makeshift evidence tables under portable floodlights. When the data finally began to compile, a horrifying picture emerged. A digital map of Florida bloomed on the analysts' screens, each red marker blinking like a wound. Stash houses disguised as vacation rentals, dead drop points buried beneath highway overpasses, cartel couriers operating under the cover of landscaping companies, financial cutouts hiding behind church charities, political intermediaries quietly laundering influence across city councils and county seats. Dozens of covert safe properties tied directly to Whitford's 15-year shield of political protection. And then investigators noticed something else. The map kept updating. New nodes appeared. Old ones shifted. It was not a static network. It was self-correcting, adaptive, a living system designed to multiply and expand unless someone finally broke its spine. The Everglades fortress was only the hub. The spokes stretched across the entire state like veins feeding a diseased heart. By sunrise, the response had a name: Operation Sunfall, a statewide dragnet activating every available resource. FBI tactical squads, DHS strike teams, DEA interdiction units, ATF weapons specialists, Florida Highway Patrol rapid response, and sheriff's departments from nearly every county. The objective was brutally clear: dismantle every active cell before Juarez operatives could scatter into the wilderness or blend back into civilian life. The first wave hit the Gulf Coast. At 6:14 a.m., a waterfront condominium in Sarasota was breached by a combined FBI-DEA strike team. Inside, 2 cartel accountants were frantically trying to torch stacks of ledgers and shrink-wrapped cash. Flames licked the edges of waterproof binders. $4.7 million lay half-melted in a bathtub filled with lighter fluid. Both men surrendered instantly, shaking, gasping, and barefoot. But the calm did not last. In Lakeland, 3 cartel vehicles attempted to flee toward Interstate 4. Florida troopers deployed spike strips, shredding the tires. DHS units boxed them in at the edge of a citrus grove. The confrontation erupted into a short but violent firefight among the trees heavy with fruit. When it ended, 6 operatives were in custody, and agents recovered crates of ammunition marked for regional distribution. By midday, the momentum pushed northward. In Gainesville, ATF agents stormed a metal fabrication workshop hidden behind a sign advertising tractor repairs. Inside, sparks still glowed on welders as technicians worked to convert civilian rifles into illegal military-grade weapons. 39 modified carbines were seized, alongside dozens of suppressors and a Colombian armorer who admitted, without hesitation, that he had personally trained Whitford's mercenary forces. Further south, near Fort Lauderdale, another facility fell. The structure looked abandoned from the outside, but inside agents found a mobile fentanyl lab still warm from overnight operations. 2 chemists opened fire from behind industrial mixers, the air thick with chemical dust. A flash charge detonated near their position, lighting up the room and forcing the men to surrender as fumes drifted upward in shimmering clouds. But the most dramatic takedown unfolded outside Orlando. A regional lieutenant of the Juarez cartel, known only as El Rostro, attempted to flee via a chain of mist-covered lakes near Winter Garden. When thermal scanners caught sight of his boat, DHS helicopters descended, cutting through the fog like phantoms. After a 14-minute chase across the water, a DHS airboat rammed his vessel. El Rostro was dragged out, carrying forged passports, encrypted keys, and a handwritten list of friendly officials Whitford had promised to protect. By the end of the first 18 hours, 79 cartel operatives had been arrested statewide. Dozens more were identified through surveillance footage, financial tracing, intercepted messages, and confessions obtained during initial interrogations. For the first time in more than a decade, the Juarez network in Florida was not expanding. It was collapsing, violently, visibly, and irreversibly, under the full weight of the United States government. When the last bursts of gunfire faded, the swamp settled into an eerie silence. Smoke drifted like fog over the shattered remains of the fortress, illuminated by helicopter searchlights. Medics moved rapidly through debris piles, treating hostages, stabilizing injured operators, and tagging evidence that floated in shallow pools of swamp water. But the mission was far from over. They never made it. Before the fleeing mercenaries could even reach the first bend of the canal, a DHS tactical element swept in from the right flank, emerging out of the swamp reeds like silhouettes carved from the darkness itself. Their rifle bursts cut through the humid air with cold precision, each round controlled, deliberate, decisive. Grenadiers lobbed 2 flash rounds into the annex doorway, the blasts illuminating the mud-soaked walls in white-hot bursts. The last pockets of resistance disintegrated under the coordinated advance. 90 seconds. That was all it took. After hours of chaos, confusion, and close-quarters fighting, the final shooters were neutralized, and the entire compound was officially secured. Only when the gunfire stopped did the magnitude of the operation begin to register across every agency involved. And then the real shock hit Florida. The political earthquake that followed was immediate, violent, and unlike anything the state had experienced in decades. The revelation that Marcus Dillon Whitford, a polished, charismatic gubernatorial contender who had built an entire public persona on transparency and reform, had been working for the Juarez cartel for 15 years, sent the public into a state of disbelief. News helicopters swarmed the state capitol like a storm. Crowds gathered across Tallahassee, many holding signs, others simply standing in stunned silence, waiting for answers that no official seemed ready to give. For older Floridians, the ones who had watched Whitford rise through the ranks, speak on TV, attend charity galas, promise economic renewal, the betrayal felt like a personal wound. Investigators wasted no time. With the fortress secure, they expanded their sweep across the state, peeling back layers of corruption like rotting wallpaper. The first layer alone was staggering. 31 business leaders, county officials, and major campaign donors tied directly to Whitford's network of shell companies. Several had processed wire transfers that lined up perfectly with cartel shipping schedules. Others had fast-tracked approvals for warehouses that, in hindsight, were cartel staging sites disguised as logistics facilities. 3 police departments launched internal affairs investigations after traffic stops involving cartel couriers were mysteriously dismissed, sometimes within minutes. One retired sheriff finally admitted he had been receiving consulting fees from a Whitford-affiliated foundation. Those fees doubled every time another cartel shipment rolled through his county. For ordinary Floridians, the damage went deeper than corruption. This was a rupture of trust. At town halls from Pensacola to Miami, elderly residents stood up with trembling voices to ask the same frightening question. If a man who wanted to be governor was working for a cartel, then who was left to protect us? And yet, amid all the anger and disbelief, one moment unified the state: the rescue of the 42 hostages. Their testimonies spread across the news, stories of chemical burns from unventilated fumes, of listening to armed guards pacing outside steel doors, of being ordered to work until they fainted, of never knowing if they would see their families again. Their survival reminded the entire country why the raid had been necessary, and why the corruption behind it had been so dangerous. The fall of Marcus Dillon Whitford and the destruction of the Everglades fortress reshaped Florida's political landscape instantly, and perhaps for an entire generation. But the message traveled far beyond state borders. Cartels can infiltrate. They can bribe, camouflage, intimidate, manipulate. They can wear uniforms, run businesses, even stand behind podiums under studio lights. But when Americans push back together, communities, law enforcement, whistleblowers, journalists, and ordinary citizens, even the strongest criminal fortress can collapse. What happened in Florida is more than a scandal, more than a crime, more than a betrayal. It is a warning. Corruption does not always hide in the shadows. Sometimes it dresses in a suit, smiles at the camera, and asks for your vote while poisoning your state behind luxury walls. And it is proof of something else. When accountability, truth, and courage stand on the same side, even the most entrenched criminal empire can fall in a single night. Integrity is not a slogan, it is a responsibility, one we all share. If you believe every politician, every official, and every person in power must be held accountable, leave a comment below and tell me what shocked you the most. If you want more investigations like this, hit like, subscribe, and share this video with one person who needs to see the truth. Your voice is what pushes stories like this into the light.